I'm Dr. Wayne Johnson. I'm a candidate for the United States Senate in this November's special election. I travel all over this great state of Georgia, and there's a lot of interest in this Senate race. But the way the media is covering it, you'd think this is only a two-person race on the Republican side, a four-person race in total, when there's in fact 21 people vying for this particular Senate seat. I'm here today to tell you that you do in fact have a great choice, and my message to you today is that I hope you will decide that I'm your better choice for this particular Senate seat. Let me introduce myself briefly. I'm from Georgia. I grew up here. I went to school here. I've built a few businesses here. I've done well, and I love this state. I'm not a lifelong Republican. Actually, I was pretty independent most of my adult life. Politics has never been my thing. I figured that I could do more for myself, my community, my family by doing what I loved most, and that did not involve hanging out in Washington, D.C. Now, fast forward to 2017, and I get a call, and they ask me to join the Trump administration to run the federal student loan program. This job interested me. I just completed a doctorate in higher education leadership, and I found this as an opportunity to add value to what was going on. Now, here's why. I've done a lot of work building banks, and I know banks can be very important and productive institutions. Making loans to people so they can take smart risk, this is a good thing and an important service. I know that banks get a bad name, but I think that healthy banks are critical to every community and help people achieve their dreams. Help them achieve the great American dream. It turns out that the federal government is the biggest bank around when it comes to student debt. In fact, the federal government student loan portfolio, the one that I was in charge of operating, is more than $1.7 trillion in size. More than 44 million Americans owe the government money on average of $32,000 per person. A meaningful number of these people cannot afford these loans. Some don't pay the money back at all. Some attended school, never completed, and still owe the debt. It's a huge problem. It's out of control, and it badly needs reform. So I decided that I would take on the job, and for a while, I really enjoyed it. We got some important and good things done. You can now actually get information on your student loan online and on your smartphone. You can complete your FAFSA online. We did some really good things, but we did not do enough. The program is still broken. And I left the Trump administration because we could not pursue something that I thought would be of help to all Americans. I wanted to do something big, bold, lasting, very meaningful. And I couldn't do it as long as I stayed inside the Department of Education. Here's my big idea. I want to cancel out most of the $1.7 trillion in student loan debt, and I want to get the federal government out of the student loan business for good. Now, I'll admit you do not make too many friends in Washington when you go about trying to get rid of a $1 trillion program. And nobody likes the guy who says, and I said it, that the federal student loan program is basically a sham. It's broken, and it's destroying the very fabric of America. That great American dream is turned into the great American nightmare. Basically, I told everyone who would listen to me that if my agency had been a private bank, it would have been shut down and its executives thrown in jail. Again, that's not a popular thing to say in Washington. So I did what very few people do in that town when they have to choose between getting along and getting out. I got out. I said goodbye. And I have vowed that I will not return unless I could come back with enough real power to do the things that I think need to be done. I wasn't going to stick around in Washington admiring problems and pretending to solve problems. That's not my style. That's why I'm running for the United States Senate. To be able to represent this state, to speak up for all Georgians, and to fix big and important problems. For starters, I want to get rid of $60 billion of student loan debt that is on the backs of 1.8 million Georgians. If you remember only one thing about me, it's this: I'd rather have a job and do something big than to have the job and do nothing. Now, there's more to me than that, and I figure you deserve a little more detail on who I am and what I believe. Let's start with this. I'm going to represent all of the people of Georgia all of the time. I'm going to work with everyone, the people who sit on local school boards and city councils, all the folks who attend our houses of worship, our first responders, the people who really make up a community will all have my ear. I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans. I won't tear people down, even when we disagree. My goal is to build up Georgia and all the citizens of Georgia. I recognize at the outset that no candidate is going to bat 1,000 with the voters, but that's okay. My goal is not to get you to agree with me. My goal is to be worthy of your trust. And oh, by the way, I am totally funding my campaign, so I'm beholden to no one. I want to make sure that people who want something better from life have that opportunity. I want to make sure that the values and institutions which tie our communities together are secure. I want to solve the problems we face as a state and as a nation. And I don't believe either political party's leading candidates in this race are prepared to do what it takes to solve them. Look, we've all seen how the political culture of this country is driving people to the extremes. If you're a Democrat, you've seen your party lurch all the way over to the left. If you're a Republican, you've seen the same trend. The problem is, people now just stay on their sides, shut the ears, and believe the worst of the other side. I don't believe the worst in people, and I'm not running to win the extreme wing of any party. I'm just not interested. And I don't think the great majority of voters are interested in extremes either. I believe voters want their elected officials to focus on the biggest problems, always tell the truth, and work with others. That's it. It doesn't seem like too much to ask, but let's face it. The best known candidates in this race, the ones that the media is talking about, haven't done it. I'm focusing on student loan debt because I think it's one area where we can all agree on the size, importance, and magnitude of the problem. Tens of millions of American families are in debt to the federal government. There are grandparents who are carrying student loan debt for their grandkids, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and believe it or not, even a few people with millions of dollars. I just don't see how that's right. Now, people in Washington pretend that this all happened because of factors that they could not control. That's what the Congress says, but that is simply not true. The federal student loan program is designed by current law to do exactly what it does: allow colleges to charge whatever they want to, knowing full well that the government will provide the funds. Consequently, it entices many young Americans and even older Americans to pile on debt, and it enrolls them in impossibly difficult repayment plans, and all along fooling the public into believing that these loans will be repaid in full, when they very much will not. It's a scandal in full view, and the people responsible should be ashamed of themselves. So here's my idea. I want today's students to have the ability to graduate without debt. I want graduates to be able to retire their debt, and I want those who have paid their way to be rewarded for their investment and their responsibility. We have to change the law. As your United States Senator, I will draft a bill and submit it for vote to cancel up to $50,000 in student debt for anyone holding federal loans, regardless of whether they attended a public or private institution. This same sum of money should be available to anyone as a grant to cover post-secondary education, including vocational training. I want each high school graduate to get $50,000 to attend college or get vocational training. And for those who have already paid their student debt, I propose a tax credit of up to $50,000. Now, this is a big deal, and it will cost a lot of money, about $925 billion. We have to raise that money from someone or somewhere. I don't like debt, So we'd put a special tax on the revenues of large employers, including universities themselves and their endowments. I'm a low-tax guy. I don't like taxes. But large companies say their biggest asset is their people. So their biggest asset is created and paid for by someone else, actually the student themselves. I don't know too many industries that get their most important asset for free. It's that time has come for us to close that circle. Corporations are the biggest beneficiaries of an educated and trained and skilled workforce. They should be the ones paying for this education and this training. Now, there are other issues which matter to me and to you. Saving small businesses, particularly in this time of COVID-19, creating jobs, dealing with health care. These are all hard issues, and they're very complex issues, but they're issues which we must solve. I believe that many of the problems that we face as a society are closely linked, and that it will take people with open minds and open hearts to solve them. This much I know. We cannot solve complex problems with simple slogans. We need dedicated leaders who are ready to roll up their sleeves and do meaningful, consequential, and lasting hard work. We need leaders who will listen to ordinary Georgians. We need leaders who can work with everybody in this state. This I can do. Now, I'll be honest about where I stand. I'm not looking to carry water for anyone else. I'm just me. I do not have a bunch of aides and support staff. I'm not looking over my shoulder, wondering what the president might tweet about me or even about my opponents. That does not worry me. I want to work on ideas that I think can make a difference. I don't care where these ideas come from because I'm practical. If I'm your senator, I will work with anyone if someone is willing to make Georgia a better state and America a better nation. I'm in this race because this has been a tough year for America and a tough year for Georgia, and I think America is a better nation than this. And I think Georgia deserves representatives that put the state's values first, not someone else's ego, not someone else's stock account, not someone else's social justice agenda. And so, I'm asking for your vote because I think Georgia deserves a better choice, and I believe that the better choice in this year's Senate election is me. Please trust me with your vote. Thank you.